Hello friends and welcome to the channel. Often we're taught that the keys to success are to learn a set of skills and to master them, whether this be personally, professionally, only to be content with this misconception of mastery. Now, contrary to popular belief, mastery of a skill set is not the final goal. Instead, we should be looking at why it is important for us to start over. Now, recently I read this book by Austin Kleon, Show Your Work. And Austin goes over the 10 ways to be able to share your creativity and get discovered. Now, this is the beginning of our book series where we go into highlights and summaries. And in this case, I'm going to cover the 5 key concepts that I took out of this that I hope to find beneficial to you all. And if you're like me and you're looking for a way to find a meaningful life and career, hopefully you find the ideas in this content useful to you as well. Let's not be content with this notion of mastery of a skill set. Life and things change over time. We know this with technology, industries, and many other aspects that just are part of the times. Which is why Austin goes into this notion of stay an amateur and be a student for life. I find this is a critical aspect of any career if you're looking to find new things and basically add to your tool set. Now, what Austin describes as the amateur, it's almost a fearless person. Someone who's able to go out there because they don't know better and they're able to try new things and basically disrupt the market. And the reason for this is because they don't know better. If you don't know better, nobody can tell you this is not the right way to do something. Now, these people, they take chances, they experiment, they don't worry about what others talk about because they're more concerned about trying to learn this new thing that is exciting to them, and they just dive right in. And in doing so, these people have the bravery to basically just take the risk. Additionally, what's most interesting is they're able to put it out there, get past that fear, and just share their experiences with others out in the world. Now, as I said earlier, due to the fast-paced change that we have in society, there's always a constant shift. Many times our positions put us in this. I can tell you in my case as an architect, where we're known as the jack of all trades and the masters of none, constantly put into a position to where I'm gonna be having a new client. And this client and what the work is may be something I've never dealt with. I have an understanding of the general process, but there is the research that has to go with it. Let me throw out you a hypothetical. Let's say Tony Hawk's master skateboarder approaches me and wants to create this indoor skate park. Truth be told, I know nothing about skating. It seems very exciting, but it is not my forte. I don't have the background. So what this will mean is I need to get out there and get in contact with people who know. I need to listen to the experts like Tony and his team, and then I need to also bring on my own consultants. So by end, I would have gone through this process, I would have learned about it, and as we develop a design and go through iterations, and then we get out there and actually build the thing, I'm gonna come across with a much better set of tool sets, and I'm gonna feel good about it. And I would imagine, since it's new to me, I don't know about you all, but when I learn something new, it is exciting, and that's even why I went into the field of architecture. Just remember the mindset of the amateur and just get out there and take that risk. And along the way, we should develop the process mindset. Now, in the past, commonly with creators and artists, we always kind of kept our secrets to ourselves. There's something about this notion of competition because it was scary to actually give your trade secrets away. However, now in the digital age, we have many different options and opportunities, and artists and creators, we're able to share ourselves and put it out there. And what this does, it provides an opportunity for us to be able to have a deeper connection with our base, our fans, followers, anybody who's willing to listen and is interested in the work that we do. Now, in the book, Austin gives us tips on being able to make this transition. One thing we need to do is to become a documentarian of our life. Now, we must ask ourselves, how can you show work if you don't have much to show at all? Now, we can dig up some of our old resources from archives. That could be sketches, could be photos, inspiration, and put that content out there. Basically, we're able to turn the invisible into the visible. Now, the options that we have to be able to do this, let's say a journal, a sketchbook. You could also use the digital means. So you have Instagram, that could be your virtual sketchbook. Now, one of my heroes is Sir David Ajayi. So what he does is he uses his personal Instagram as his virtual sketchbook. Shares inspiration that he uses for being able to create the master works in his architectural firm, which gives me the behind the scenes thought into his inspiration. All right, and one option you could do is do an audio or video recording of yourself. I'm new to content creation. This is a little bit scary. I'm a bit of an introvert. So talking to the camera, hearing my voice out loud, this is all new. So what I do, give myself a quick little short to myself. I just talk to the camera, get familiarized with it, and hopefully over time you're gonna see this transformation, and the more content that I do talking with you all in the community. So please bear with me for now, as this is just a fresh process. Now, in terms of some actionable items that we can do for being able to become better archivists, is to develop a system for archiving your process. So author James Clear talks about this in his book Atomic Habits, where he goes into creating systems that reinforce our habits rather than goals. I'll get into this content a little bit future as I do the book review on that. Look up to the corner and I'll revise the video to make sure to have the link to that. But this is solid advice. I found this out, came across the material, and then what I've done for my personal life and as well for this YouTube channel, my professional architectural career, is I have a system using Notion. I'm gonna put this out there. Notion is not a sponsor because I'm too new to have sponsors. However, Notion is a very effective system. I find that it is efficient, the way how the system in itself goes, and I will give some future content about why I have chose Notion as my system. But it is a way to be able to archive, give a process, and be able to use it almost like a second brain and memory. So now that we have a system in place, put it out there, share it with others, so then that way they're able to learn lessons as well. And this leads us to our next topic. Stop hoarding and share the knowledge. And dedicate yourself to sharing your knowledge and putting it out there in public. You never know who's going to find it interesting, and there's many potential opportunities that come from that. So with this notion of not being a hoarder, we can think of our collection of experiences and memories similar to that of a museum or archive. We have a collective of knowledge and experiences. So it's in our best interest to be able to package these and put them together and get it out there to share with others. Now, our content basically gives others an opportunity to see our influences, our inspiration, and what we're into. I mean, this is all just part of our persona and our backstory. So if you're wanting to be somebody who's interesting, think of this as the back door into others understanding you. Now, I can tell you in terms of my process, I'm currently heavily influenced right now, as I said earlier, by Ali Abdaal, other content creators like Chris Du of the Future, Matt DeVelli. Sorry, Matt, I just said your last name wrong. And then also Peter McKinnon. And what I look from them is opportunities, information, tutorials, basically even new resources. So they are feeding me, kind of like a Wikipedia page. Many times you can go to Wikipedia, you hear the content, but if you go to the very bottom of that page, you can start to see the references. Now, to me, the content that I hear from fellow creators, that is my references. I find the source material, and then I want to go find and understand, dig into it myself, and then see what I abstract at it, because my experiences and what I read is different from what they do. And in that case, that's what I did and what we're talking about here. And this leads to the next tip. Share your secrets. Similar to what I'm doing here with you all, the moment you learn something, teach it to others. Whether that be in a digital format, to your own home, friends, families. If it's of interest to you and you think it could help somebody else, put that out there and don't be a hoarder. Think about it this way. At one point in your career, you were at a very basic level. Now you may be intermediate or advanced, and so something you take for granted, the person who was you 5, 10 years ago, maybe even a year ago, is looking for that information now. You possess that. And by putting that out there, you're able to help others get to where you are today. Now, as Austin says, when you teach somebody to do your work, you're actually creating more interest in it as well. Now, one thing we got to think about in terms of how we're sharing this. Yes, we talked about the museum, the collection, that can seem a bit intimidating. So a useful tip for starting out is just send a small daily dispatch. This can be just a little tidbit. You have to think, collections didn't just happen overnight. It was built up over time. So the same way, you can actually put out one little piece of content day by day, and this is gonna lead to the larger, but you have to give it time. Something that you start now, and if we were to look at it another year or two, it's gonna build up, and then you will have that collection looking back and be hopefully impressed by what you see. So again, let's not focus on months, years, decades. Let's focus it one day at a time, one piece of content at a time. Take one step forward. And one way we could do this is at the end of your day, find one piece of content from your process archives that you've now created and put it out there. And depending on which stage you are in your career process, you can think of about 3 different ways. If you're in very early stages, just put out your influences and things that inspire you. But be sure to give proper credit where it's due. If you're in the middle stage of your process, show what you're working on right now. Maybe it's sketches, maybe it's imagery. If you're writing something, give little excerpts. These things are the fun stuff. So if you have that, just put it out there. It'll be exciting to somebody, maybe scary to you, but that's another opportunity they can share. And of course, if you're in that final stage and you have the finished product, share the beautiful images of it. If you've got links to articles or anything that's written about that, share your awards and honors and any mentionings, because you've worked hard to get to this point, and it feels good to let others know that there is recognition and that people are talking about it, because you should feel proud. You've been working hard, and why wouldn't we shout from the rooftops to be able to let people know what we've been doing? And the other part to that you could share is your lessons learned. Many of us, I think we don't take the time. We're in that hustle culture, we're constantly going, but the lessons learned from the process of getting from start to the finish of a project, this is the part to where it can help many others along the way. For yourself, it's always good, and be sure to do that so that way you can refine your process, give those lessons, share it if you have a team, so then when you go to the next project, you're able to streamline it better and give more refined product. Now for that content that's been out there for a while, share the hero stories. What are people saying? I mean, that's always fun to see. Now put that content out there as it's a part of the story, which leads us into why it's in our best interest to become a better storyteller and listener. Now there's a common saying out there that the work speaks for itself. I think this is the wrong approach, and we need to challenge this, because the work doesn't speak for itself. Now I'm going to give you an example here. So let's talk about two potential pieces of furniture art. So the first one here is from contemporary artist Stefan Bergmeister. Now the second one is an example of student work at Indiana University. But what if I told you it was actually the opposite? So would you pay the same cost for one or the other? Now what happened here is I fed you a story. You understood that a famous artist from New York had created one piece over another. But if I went back and forth on this, most of our interest is based on whatever story is being fed. Now really what we're all interested in, it's the story and process that pique our interest. And from a practical side, this makes me think about architecture with resumes and portfolios. I could put out the most gorgeous renderings, I could take some beautiful photos, can have great details, and just have worked on just like phenomenal work. However, if there's no story that goes with it, and it's just not composed well and not put out there correct, who's gonna be interested? Which is why those future architects and architectural students out there, here's my tip to you all. You are selling yourself. Your body of work does matter. Be sure you have that information, because you want to have something to talk about and talk over. However, if you haven't prepared the story, then you're not going to have an interesting conversation, because whenever you are in the room with somebody, you are selling yourself, the story, and everything about it that led to it. So let's be sure to craft your story, because if you want others to enjoy it, you need to make sure to have it interesting. And this leads to what Austin says, how if you want to become a better storyteller, you need to be able to look at what a good story is. And that's why when taking these lessons, we need to understand structure, because structure is everything. Now life, like any other part of the process, it's all over the place, and we take these little pieces and then we're able to round them back up together, and then that's how we're able to craft our story. It's kind of like brainstorming and outlining. You just put the thoughts out there. So in the same sense, we need to understand a structure to take these little tidbits of information to be able to craft it back into something that is good. So basically we need to analyze, organize, and reassemble the story. I mean, study the heck out of what others are doing and be able to figure that out, so then that way you can craft your own. And that'll lead me into options. There are many ways. There's video content, there are platforms like Skillshare. Again, I'm not sponsored, just started out, but I do believe in the platform, and Skillshare, if you are ever listening, let's collaborate. But I do learn tips that are out there from other sources, because that is important for my own toolkit. So if I want to know how to tell a good story, I need to find out from people who can actually do it. So I recommend you all look out there, study it, analyze it, and see what you can take from it. And this leads to another opportunity, social settings. Now take the opportunity to talk about yourself in public, whether that be at parties, at networking events. Just get out there, let others know about the ventures that you're getting into, because there are some possible collaborations. Many times we have no ideas. I mean, the best advice I was ever given was make friends, because the more friends you're gonna make, the more opportunities that are gonna present themselves. But be sure when you are talking to folks to know what it is you are doing, so you can clearly, in a succinct manner, talk about it. The other part I would advise to anybody listening, be truthful. Don't lie, don't embellish. Be very clear about what it is you are aiming to do in the world, because that sincerity will be understood whenever you're interacting. And in that sense, also, just shut up and listen. Be interested in what others are doing. Don't just talk about yourself. It is a two-way conversation, and in order to be able to work with people, you have to hear what they're doing. Successful artists and creators out there, they like to talk with the community, find out what they're interested in, hear recommendations. You may find a piece of content that is, whether it's a book, a movie, a place to go visit, someplace you had no idea about, and these opportunities that start funneling your way because you had the time to stop talking and just listen to what others are going to tell you. And I personally just recommend this as just general good life advice. And now that we've learned something new, developed our process, and understood how to communicate with others, it's time to go away so you can start fresh. Okay, I'm back. Now, what's important is for us to be able to take time away, and so then that way we can come at things with fresh ideas. So step away and take a sabbatical. Many of us are familiar with this concept of sabbatical. However, outside of the world of academia, it's not commonly practiced. And in the book, Austin talks about our same artist friend, Stefan Sagmeister, and how he implements this inside his professional practice. Now, Stefan breaks it down as the following. We have the first 25 years is our learning stage. The next 40 years is our working stage, and the final 15 is our retirement stage. Now what he suggests is that instead of taking the full 15 years, let's carve out 5 years out of that and sprinkle that within the working stage. So if we were to work 7 to 8 years straight and then take off potentially a year, we've created opportunity. We've created a break instead of having burnout. What this allows us is it's a moment to get away, experience new things, have a breath of fresh air, good ideas, and just even recenter ourselves. And then what this will do, you come back to whatever business or practice or content of your life, and you're gonna have the great reset. And if you're not in a position to be able to take a sabbatical, because many of us aren't, we may not have a position that gives us the time off or employers to do so, try instead what he refers to as the practical sabbatical. Now in this case, you can take a daily, weekly, monthly break and just get away from it all. I mean, if we use our time off strategically, we can be able to find opportunities to be able to expand upon these breaks. In my case, I may look for something, let's say like Thanksgiving holiday. We have Thursday and Friday off, so I'll take the Monday through Wednesday. Then I'll also take the Monday through Wednesday of the following week. So if I look at the calendar of what I had from the weekends through what was me just taking off about 5 or 6 days of my personal time off, turns out to be closer to about an 11-12 day streak of having a break. And take note, I purposely took that Monday through Wednesday because nobody wants to come back on a Monday. So there's a psychological aspect there, and it definitely works for me, and I hope you all try it out and find something that does work for you. Now, beyond the sabbatical and the practical sabbatical, we should be looking for opportunities in our daily routine to when we can shut down our brain. We're constantly connected, and we need to be able to basically click that switch and just disconnect. And in the book, Austin makes mention of an example from writer Gina Trappini, and what Gina discusses is 3 prime areas where we can actually create opportunity from our busy lives. This is via either commute, exercise, or just being out in nature. So we all commute one way or another, whether it's car, bus, train, bicycle, roller skates even. I have been seeing a lot of people out on paths with roller skates. This is a good chance for us to be able to pay attention to our surroundings, see our neighborhood, look around, see how the weather's doing, put in an audiobook. One thing that I do, when I'm commuting, it's a short commute, but I throw in Spanish conversational lessons. I was never taught Spanish, and my family growing up, learning another language, I think is just crucial life skill. It's once again goes back to communication. So yes, our commutes are an opportunity for us to be able to disconnect from our normal digital mindset days, or just to be able to gain a new skill and habit and better improve ourselves. And when it comes to exercise, this is where I'm actually going to suggest that you don't put in those earbuds. And the reason is we are so in tune with everything digitally, music, our screens, that exercise should be the one good opportunity to where we're focused just on us. I mean, when I go out and run, I am just in awe when I look up and see a beautiful sunrise, sunset. If I'm out in the snow or it's raining, there are experiences that I don't get to see whenever I'm sitting behind my desk desk in an office. I mean, just yesterday morning, I came and ran on the path in my neighborhood park, and I was just within about 5 to 6 feet of a pack of deer that were just feeding at this nearby little lake area. That's an experience that we don't get to see every day. So take this chance to just connect with yourself, nature, and just be in that moment. The other reason why I think exercise and being disconnected on the headphones is great, many of the ideas that I'm looking for in those moments, they come to fruition. And let me kind of digress here for a moment. We are asking a lot of our brains. And if our brains are computers, in a sense, we're basically throwing process after process. Give us more, execute, command, enter, all those type of analogy. And what's happening is we're getting a backlog. It's kind of like a traffic jam. And then we're looking for answers and our brain cannot keep up with the amount of processes that we're telling it to give us. However, being out, for me, out on a run, or even like the shower moment that we all know, that's when the ideas are flooding back because I'm no longer shoving processes and requests out to my brain. And that's why it's great to either have some kind of journal. I am thinking about for the future. Normally I'm not digitally connected on my runs, but I am thinking about keeping a watch, maybe a smart watch of some manner. I'll let you know in the future if I do go for that, because many times I'm trying to retell it to myself, because that is the negative aspect. Your brain finally gives you the answers, but whether or not you store it. So it is good to have some means of being able to recall. And the last part is just being in nature itself. I talked about being outside with running, but just get out, walk around. It's good and healthy for us in general. Hikes are great, being out on the water. There's a primordial connection that we all get just from being in nature. We need it. The air is fresher, but if you do have that opportunity, just get out there and do that. One way to get out, if it seems to be a struggle to carve that niche of time to be able to just go outside, is get a dog. I can tell you in our case, over 8 years ago, we got our pup, and every night we give the long walk. We have short walks during the day. We get out, I come home for lunchtime, get that disconnect from work by just throwing the ball with them. And I can tell you my burnout feeling and productivity level from my morning to afternoon, I feel much better. I feel jived. So yes, big advocate of a dog. Hope you all have them. And if you don't, that's fine for whatever reason you get, just to be out and be in nature. All right, and that's the book in a nutshell. I hope you all enjoyed the content. Thanks again for watching. And if you want to get more content like this, click here to see my latest video. And until next time, stay safe, stay curious. Cheers.